Okay, so my guest today had a jingle for a YouTube channel she did. So I'm going to try out a couple little options here for how the heck have you been? All right. How the heck have you been? No. How the heck have you been? How the heck have you been? How the heck have you been? These are all dumb. Let's get to the show. What a great guest we have for today's episode. Casey Latham Muckley and I went to the same high school and have also taught at the same high school. We discussed a wide range of topics like why I didn't include her name in the giant maze I drew on my bedroom wall, and how college kids can have fun in a small town Walmart, and how we try to keep our students engaged during COVID lockdowns. It was so good to catch up with her, and I hope you enjoy our talk. Oh, there it is. Let's see. Is it? Hey! I can see you. Can you hear me? It just zoomed in on your face, too. It, like, showed you zoomed out, and then it zoomed in.
Oh,
That was kind of
sorry.
cool. What's up? It's good to see you.
It's good to see you.
Casey Beth.
Hello.
Now, I like to start with, like, when the last time we saw each other was, but it was, like, just a couple months ago, because you were at one of the
True.
art fairs I was selling at Birdville.
True. We came specifically for the Mark Dye
Aw,
booth.
thank you.
Yeah.
I had a former, you probably don't know, she was at Grapevine High School, not Colleyville. Oh, you worked at Grapevine too, right? Didn't you travel for a while?
Yeah, for a time.
She was the attendance lady with the Boston accent.
Yes.
Farinella? I forget.
Yeah.
Anyway, she showed up. She was
Heidi.
like, yeah, I saw you posting your stuff, so I decided to come out and see you. I was like, oh, that's nice. I didn't think that worked. I didn't think social media worked, but of course it does because
Yeah.
everybody uses it. I never give enough credit to, like, advertisements. Like, ads don't work. People just spend billions of dollars a year on them for no reason. Anyway,
Yeah.
how's it going? How the heck have you been?
It's good. It's good. I am, as we discussed, our children are, I don't know if your child is napping or if you have children napping. My child is napping right now, so I definitely have her up, like, on another screen here.
Nice. Yeah, the monitor.
I'm watching the monitor, yeah. But yeah, it's good. How about you?
Good. Mine are old enough where I can put them in front of the screens for this time. Usually I don't. Usually it's either my wife is home when
Yeah.
I'm recording, or I mean she's here now, but they're doing quiet. They do quiet time for an hour, so
Oh, gotcha.
like we cut it off at. I'm so weird about screen time, and but we just bought a Nintendo Switch on Sunday. Sally texted me from Target. It was an impulse buy to get a Switch, and so we had been playing the old Super NES that we had busted that out.
Uh-huh.
And so now we're just like expanding the universe from this tiny little Super NES system to all of the games you could ever want.
Yeah.
So now I'm not really limiting screen time because we've been playing that all morning, and now they're on their Amazon tablets, and then we'll watch a movie
Yeah.
with dinner. It's terrible. It's summer though.
Yeah. No, you'll get no judgment from me on screen time because I am 35 weeks pregnant and have a 3-year-old home with me every day. And so, no, we're definitely using screens here to give mom a little bit of a break. So,
Yep.
no judgment.
Yeah, 3 years old is a good age to start at Met.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how far along are you? I just saw the post. I don't remember when you announced. It's been only a couple weeks, right, since you announced?
No, we announced back in, I think February,
Oh wow. Okay.
I think. But I'm 35 weeks now.
Oh geez, that's pretty far along.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got this conversation in. It could.
Yeah, really. Might not have been able to do it later.
Yeah.
He is measuring like way far ahead of what he's supposed to be, like somewhere between 2 and 3 weeks ahead of where he's supposed to be. So my due date was August 1st, but it's very possible that will be moved up a bit because he is big enough right now to be born right now if he wanted to. So he's
That's
like
awesome.
almost 8 pounds and 19 inches right now.
8 pounds. Yeah, I think that's I think bigger than Samantha when she was born.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, apparently I make big babies, and all of the doctors say so. Like, that's the first thing when they see me is like, oh, you make big babies. It's like, thanks.
It's never good when
One of
the
my-
people who see hundreds of babies a day are shocked,
Yeah.
right? It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
it's one of my many talents.
yeah. Like when Katie Paris, that episode hasn't come out yet. I guess I should say Katie Coleman. I don't know if she goes
Yeah.
hyphenated, or not. But she talked about being tested as a kid for hearing loss, and like the nurse who did the testing was like visibly shocked that Katie's hearing was so bad. It's like, that's horrible. Like as a nurse, she was 5 years old. I think she said, it's like, don't be visibly shocked in front of a 5-year-old.
Yeah. This is probably way too much information, but my OB is like so chill, and she's like, you're just really tall and your husband's really tall, so you're going to make big babies. That makes sense. But like at that doctor's office, they want you to have an appointment with every single doctor they have on staff, so that if for some reason my doctor can't be there, I at least know the other doctors, which is really cool. But like literally every other doctor has like like been shocked. Like they go, oh, your baby's big, which makes me feel amazing. Whereas my doctor is so chill about it. So it's funny to see that in everybody else's eyes every time. So yeah.
6 or 7 times to be that, like, yeah, I get it. I'm scared myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Great.
Well, it's funny too, because that's something I hadn't thought about when our first was born. I think it may have been maybe on our second, but when another doctor came in, I was like, no, this isn't our doctor. This is not the one. He's like, yeah, no, she'll be here later. But like, wait, hold on. I thought this is just going to be, I don't know you. What's happening?
Yeah, that could totally be scary. I mean, luckily with Molly, my first kid, it was my actual OB, but I didn't know any of the other doctors that it could have been. So I do appreciate that this new doctor, gave me a chance to meet everybody else, so that if for some reason something happens, I at least am familiar with that face that I'm looking at. So that's good.
Nice. Do you have a name picked out already?
We do.
Have you announced it yet?
I mean, we haven't announced it yet, okay. But I will say, I don't know when this is coming out.
This won't come out until, let me see, this won't come out for like a month and a half.
Oh, then I could go ahead and
say
it. His name will be Luke.
Nice.
Molly and Luke. Yeah.
That's a good name. Why did you pick it? For the biblical reference?
No,
Star Wars?
We like, with Molly too, like we like simple but sort of more old-fashioned names. But like, I'm a big fan, especially as a teacher, I'm a big fan of knowing that I picked a name for my kid that will never be mispronounced.
Mm-hmm.
And
watch him like go live in the Middle East or something.
Yeah, really.
Look here, France.
But I like picking a name that they can easily spell, picking a name that they can easily that their teachers won't mispronounce. I just like to keep it as simple as possible, and so both Molly and Luke, they're just kind of simple, old-fashioned names.
It's funny because I get so judgmental about names. Like, that's a weird name. Why would you name them that? And I'm like, but literally they're all made up. Like, all names are just picked out of thin air, technically,
so
for originally. Yeah. So I shouldn't be that judgmental. But it is, as a teacher, the same. I'm like, really? And there were twins at LD Bell who were a year younger than us, I think, that were in color guard, and their names were so similar. It was like Mariel and Muriel or something.
Oh, yeah?
Why would you do that? I need to look that up. I was like, why would you do that to your kids? Even naming them the same first letter as twins? Yeah. Like, you might as well name them as far apart as possible so people can...
Yeah, they got called by each other's name all the time.
All right, so let's go back to high school.
All right.
Because you're straddling the band world and the not band world. I interviewed Conrad Hartman for the previous episode, and he was my first non-band at all person. But were you there for the first full year or just marching season?
Yeah, I was there for the first full sophomore year, and then just the marching season of junior year.
Okay, so that was a good chunk of it.
Yeah.
And why'd you dip out?
So sophomore year, I loved it a lot, and like every time that in that summer band time, where in the evening we're all out there rehearsing drill and parents come out and watch, and my parents would always talk about like how I had the giant smile on my face when I'd come running off the field to see them. And then junior year, things changed. I don't know if you remember, this is kind of getting really technical, but there was a part of the drill where like the entire band was on the left side of the field in like concentric circles. Mm-hmm. And then there was a long line that came out of it of clarinets that stretched all the way to like the 3-yard line on the complete other side of the field. And there were multiple days where we were forced to rush that every single time over and over and over again. And all of the people in the concentric circles moved like literally a foot.
Except the clarinets.
And they'd be like, hustle, get back to your spot. And the clarinets are just dying, running back to their spots. And I spent a lot of time on the sidelines that year, just real sick.
Catching your breath and
yeah, because I've been running so much, and it just wasn't as fun for me anymore. And I was really diving deeper into the choir world, and so I just decided to drop the band and pick up more choir courses to kind of further my experience level in choir.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It was no joke. Those some of those drill runs. I remember at one point one of the saxophone players had to do like 2 to 5, meaning 2 steps to 5 yards, which is basically jump sprinting, for a set. And I remember at one time, I don't know if it was Pollard or Earnhardt sitting us down and like having the fitness conversation with the whole band, like, maybe if you're not in shape, you should think about, and it was, I remember it being awkward because I could tell that he didn't want to like make anybody feel uncomfortable, but he was like, maybe jog a little bit outside of band. I was like, dude, we're all band nerds. We are not athletes.
Yeah. Like I said, there's a reason it was a PE credit for sure.
Yeah.
But what was funny is you had to take all 3 semesters of marching band in high school to get that PE credit.
Oh no! So you had to do extra.
2 of the 3, I had to do a trimester of bowling, which I don't even know if you knew what we had, but we would actually like meet at the Hearst Bowl.
At the Hearst Bowl, I assume so. Yeah.
And just literally bowl for an hour and then go to the next.
That actually sounds amazing. Was that just fun?
It was really fun because the coach, like, we never learned how to bowl. His rule was just as long as when your name comes up, you get up and you throw a ball down the lane, then you'll get a grade for this class. And so you'd be on a team and you just sit there and talk all year and have fun and just bowl. And it was great. I loved it.
Yeah. My sisters took bowling in college at UTA. So we'd go there sometimes and after the school hours and go bowl. But it's funny thinking of you, if they don't know about how intense our band was, like, what'd you take in PE in high school? Well, I did some marching band and some bowling.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
And the bowling was the super non-athletic part of it.
Yeah. And even the most elite bowlers, really, it's not that athletic. It's one of those where, like, cheerleading, gets made fun of as a sport, but that's intense too. Like that takes super skill. There are some sports that people do, like bowling. Come on, guys, you're just throwing the ball.
I mean, our bowling class, we literally, I can't even stop saying that, but we had donut Wednesdays. So
yeah,
it was for sure not athletic.
That actually sounds really fun. I wish I had done that. Just not for the PE credit, just to have an extra credit.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And now I don't remember who all was in IB with me either. I've got a whole picture somewhere. Were you International Baccalaureate or no?
I was invited to, but this is probably really silly now, but I was really, really into sign language in high school. And that was one big thing about IB is that you had to do French or German to be able Spanish or French maybe, that you had to do to be able to be in the IB program. And I was really set on, I wanted to do sign language throughout high school. Yeah. And so I chose not to do IB for that reason.
I mean, it was a cool program. I don't know that it ever has given me that much of a leg up just as a thing to put on my resume. Mm-hmm. Although it's spreading around now. I mean, I super enjoyed it. Like I said, it's a great program, but I don't feel like you're in a huge deficit for not having had that.
But you guys were definitely a tight-knit group. But I think I had a little bit of that in that I was GT English. And so, like, you typically have pretty much the same group of kids that you're in that GT English course with. Like you and Toby and I think Garrett Rosser was a part of that. Kevin Eager.
Yeah, Garrett. I know Sarah Smith and Sean Stevens and I'm trying to remember. Was that only one course? I feel like there were like 2 GT classes. Maybe only one though.
Yeah, that's true. There were at least a couple of sections, but you typically had about the same people in those classes because there was a sophomore GT English and a junior and a senior, and so
Joey Berry
kind of rotated through the same people. In those courses, as well as in the AP courses, because I think all of our AP courses at the time were AP/IB.
Yeah.
And so I still took a lot of that course. Yeah, really. I still took a lot of those courses with a lot of those same people. I just wasn't getting the IB credits for it.
Did you have Miss Metter for senior English with Joey Berry?
Ooh, I don't think I had Joey Berry in my class.
He was in my class, and one day he hid for the entire first 50 minutes of class, and she didn't notice. and he popped out because I guess there were posters or some of those the 3-section, presentation boards, and so I guess he made a little cubby up on the counter with some poster boards, and he was just there, and the rest of the class knew it, and we just all kept quiet and didn't give him away and he popped out and freaked her out halfway through class.
Now the teacher always like, oh, that poor teacher.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I would have picked up on there's something going on here. Somebody keeps glancing at this counter, I can't imagine a group of 25 GT English kids would have been that self-controlled, but I guess we were.
Yeah. No, I had it with Liz Fontenot.
Yeah. You must have been pretty good friends with Katie Paris as well, right? If you were sign language.
No, because I think she was a level ahead of me in sign language.
Okay.
We were never in the same sign language course. And honestly, I don't remember having a lot of courses with Katie, so unfortunately, I didn't really get the opportunity to know her as well in high school. I think the only thing we really ever had together was band, and then of course I dropped band halfway through junior year. So
let's talk Liz Fontenot, because I'm actually she's my next interview next week.
Oh yeah! Oh my gosh, she's fabulous.
She is, and I was just Facebook stalking you for a second right before just to refresh my memory on something. So y'all are still going strong. She threw you a baby shower.
Yeah, she did just this past weekend.
Yeah.
She threw a baby shower for her baby, and oh my gosh, went above and beyond. Like she bought, every decoration you could possibly buy for the theme, and she bought the big cupcakes, and she got us a present too, and like just I mean, she goes above and beyond for all of her friends. Like one of her biggest traits, I'm gonna just blab about her for a second. One of her biggest awesome traits is that you cannot lose her as a friend ever. Like there's nothing you can do, there's nothing you can say, like not an annoying stalker way, but like she just loves.
She'll be there outside your window no matter what.
Yeah, every breath you take, right? She will love you through all of your faults and all of your mistakes, and be so patient and understanding, and then at the end of it still be there and like want to give you a hug and say, how can I help? And so she's fabulous. Like honestly, probably because I'm such an introvert that I tend to forget to keep up with friends and that kind of thing. And the only reason that we are such good friends to this day is because she has always been so good about keeping that going, and I am terrible at that. And so I'm so grateful to her for that, because the amount of friends I have as an adult now, I can count on one hand. And she is definitely one of those. And I'm really appreciative to her for being such a great friend. So yeah.
Great. She'll be glad to hear that.
There's that commercial for her. So listen next week. She'll be on.
There you go. It's going to be. Well, I've known her since kindergarten. We were in GT English together, I think, starting in kindergarten or first, second grade. But, we went through Donna Park Elementary together for, the whole time. And then Hearst.
Yeah.
Now, you're friends with Jessica Lugo. What was her maiden name?
Rader.
That's what I thought. My sister had some friends whose last name were Rader, too. So I was second guessing myself. But y'all been friends for that
also
the same same time. Now, she was never in band, right? Jessica Rader?
Correct. She was in choir.
Yeah,
she and Liz both were in choir.
Yeah.
So yeah. Jess is awesome too. She's married, has 2 kids, looks fabulous. She's done a lot of hard work on herself and has lost a lot of weight over the last year or two. And just super, like, a wonderful teacher, and really passionate about getting students involved in government and voting, and speaking up for their rights and that kind of thing, and really just like really cool stuff.
Nice. Yeah, you talk about
give me more names. I'll just talk them all up. That'll be my interview.
Yeah, there you go. Who else do you love? This is good. It's making me feel like I'm loved too, because I was talking with Conrad on the previous episode about just having the luck of having such good friends around me. And it makes me feel bad. Like, are there people who don't have Liz Fontenot's in their life, or don't have like Lauren and Laura's in their life like I did, and Toby's? Yeah. Because there must be, because you hear about people who are just so lonely, but it's like, I feel so #blessed to have such good people in my life. But then, when you talk about being an adult, after you have kids, it kind of limits. You just kind of like solidify into, all right, here's the 2 other pairs of adults with other kids this age that I can, tolerate and do play dates with. And otherwise, it's kind of hard to like take on new friendships and new relationships when you're like after you have kids. It's like I don't have any time for any more of this stuff.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Well, especially as a teacher, I'm one of those that I'm there till 5 or 6 o'clock or as late as daycare will allow me to, and then I pick her up, and then you come home and it's dinner time and bath time and bedtime, and like you don't actually get time to yourself until about 8:30. So yeah, it's difficult to keep up friendships in that way. But like I said, it's a lot of it. I put the blame on myself because I am a huge introvert, and it is like I am not the one who's going to pick up the phone. I am not the one who's going to like. I'm terrible about even responding to text messages. Like there's something in my brain that makes me go like, oh, I can't. I'm just gonna. I'll deal with it later. Like
although
the anxiety of it all.
Text messages snuck up on us because I still resent the feeling that we should be attentive to our text messages like every waking hour. And I literally mean every way. It's like, why didn't you never responded to that text I sent yesterday? I'm like, yeah, because you caught me at a bad time and I forgot. And it's a text. So if you really need me, like actually call me it does bother me sometimes when people are so expectant for you to answer instantly.
My problem is if I accidentally read the text message,
right,
but I'm not in a place where I can respond to it, I will 100% forget about it
every time
until somebody says, hey, you never responded. So yeah, and that's why like I'm probably the annoying one because I leave them unread for so long. So I'm thinking like I'll when I can deal with this mentally, I will get to it, and then it just stays unread forever.
And I'll admit, I have no idea how to check whether somebody read my text or not because I don't care. You know what I mean? Like I never learned because I didn't want to be that guy. Like, has she read it yet? Should I call them? Is something wrong? Do they not like me anymore because they don't want to?
Yeah.
But oh man, I haven't talked much about this on the podcast yet. AOL Instant Messenger was such a huge way we communicated.
I think AOL was so big just because I think you mentioned this before, but like text messages were so expensive at the time.
Yeah.
And you could instant message somebody for free, which was great. And so, we lived on AOL for years. It feels like I remember doing it I feel like I did it in middle school and high school and college. Like it lasted a long time.
And did you ever have a Zanga?
Yes.
Those were the best because I was all about, still am, like the aesthetic, the colors, and you could like do color schemes and change the way it looked really easily compared to a MySpace. Yeah, like MySpace looked like garbage, but everybody used it. So I was.
Well, now you think about like we went from Zanga, where you're writing like entire blog posts about yourself, to Facebook, where you maybe had a few lines you could put in, to Twitter, where you were limited to characters, to now Instagram, where everybody just posts pictures. Like it's funny how we went from an age where we had to pay for every word that we wrote in text message, and now we don't have to do that anymore, but yet we've limited ourselves on how many words we put out there.
And can you imagine people reading a newspaper or reading a mag? Like it's all just that's the So somebody said there's this old marketing famous line: the medium is the message. But I recently heard somebody say, actually, the headline is the message now. Like nobody reads past the headlines, and so and there's all these weird headlines. Like they're talking to, I don't know, like fifth graders or something. Like, here's what Roe v. Wade being overturned means, and what you need to know about it. I'm like, why are you talking to me like that? Like here's all you need to know about it, or what does it mean? Yeah. Like just
because we live in that bullet point world. Everybody wants to read the 3 bullet points and be done.
And that's all it takes is the headline. And then you read sometimes I'll read the body of the article. I'm like, I don't even understand this article. Like I feel like they're intentionally trying to confuse me because it's like, just rely on the headline. But that's getting into too much politics and news, media and politics. Let's not do that.
Yeah.
All right, let's move forward here. Unless you have were there any other high school memories?
Oh no, like here's one thing that's going to be bad about this podcast. I have the worst memory in the entire world. And so like I've been listening to you, like these couple of podcasts that have come out, and the questions you ask them, I'm like, I would have no answer for that. Like, if you ask me, I don't remember. So no, moving past high school is probably better.
All right. So did you stay in the area for college? I don't remember where you went.
I did not. I went to Edmond, Oklahoma, and I went to a college called Oklahoma Christian University.
Oh, nice. So OCU, but not.
Yes, but very specifically not OCU,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of colleges in that area, and so OCU is attributed to Oklahoma City
City
University,
University. Okay.
and then Oklahoma Christian University is typically referred to as OC.
Oh,
We
the
dropped the
OC.
U.
The OC.
That's
Wasn't there a
right.
TV show called The OC?
There was.
Orange
Yes.
County? Is that Orange County? I don't know.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
never into reality TV show. So Oklahoma Christian University, majoring in education, right off the
Music
bat, or no?
education.
Say that again.
Music education.
Oh, okay.
Music
Yeah.
education.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to do, at the time, I wanted to be a choir director. And
Nice.
so, yeah, went there for music education. It's technically a 5-year degree, but I also did, like, from the day we graduated high school, that next week I started at TCC taking summer school courses,
Nice.
which I always recommend to my
Yep.
students,
100%.
especially music students, because I think it's still like a 5-year degree, which is crazy. And so get out there and get as much of the basic courses done in the summer as you can, so that you can really just focus on your core classes in the school year. Because music degrees, there are a lot of courses that you have to take for the degree plan that are either 1 credit or 0 credits, but they really take up hours and hours of your time every week. And so you end up signing up for something like 8 classes a semester, or like a ridiculous amount of classes a semester, just because so many of them are rated so low in credits. But you work your butt off on trying to get all that work done. So it's tough.
So is it a lot of mastering the actual, like, do you have to learn an instrument for music education, I assume, and also do vocal stuff, or no?
They typically piano is the sort of principal instrument
Yeah.
of the music degree, especially if you come to college without any sort of musical instrument background. But luckily, I've been playing piano since I was about 6 years old, and so I came into it being able to go directly into private lessons with a professor, as opposed to most students who didn't have a strong piano background would go into a piano class where they would actually
Yeah.
take piano with, 10 other people and that kind of thing.
That's cool.
So, yeah.
Did you have to do any other instruments? Just piano and vocals?
Just piano. If you were, because so I did vocal music education, but there was also orchestral music
Oh,
education.
okay.
And so if you did that,
Yeah.
then you kind of had a few more classes where you learned how to play, some of the different types of instruments you'd have to teach or direct in band.
Yeah.
But since I was doing vocal, really the only thing that I had to master was piano. So, yeah.
Now, Oklahoma gets a bad reputation as a state where there's nothing to do. Is that true, having lived there for 4 or 5 years?
That is 100% a fact.
Okay.
I mean, it's come a long way. Like in the Oklahoma City area now, there's this place called Bricktown that's kind of trying to be the hip downtown area. But I think that was after I'd already graduated and left. So there was
You
no
said
Bricktown.
that's Oklahoma City, right?
Yeah,
because
which is not far from Edmond.
We actually took a vacation to Oklahoma City. My wife and I, before we had kids, we took a vacation up there just because it's a shorter drive. And they have the Chihuly Museum. They have an art museum.
Yes.
With Chihuly, for those who don't know, is a famous glass artist, glass blowing, and all of that. And that's a really cool museum and installment to walk through. It's crazy what he can do with glass.
Yeah.
But
otherwise, there's not a lot to do.
I will say we went up to, I mentioned Jack White probably on every episode of this podcast, I'm sure, but we went to see him in Tulsa and I think Oklahoma City. I know he did 2 cities because he likes to do kind of out of the way, smaller towns that have more intimate venues and stuff.
Okay.
So we did. I forget what the venues were actually called. You probably wouldn't know.
Oh, I have no idea.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been to a couple concerts in Oklahoma, but the only people I ever hear defending Oklahoma is like people who just have deep roots there. I'm like, yeah, all right.
But I mean, when you come from like the bustling Dallas-Fort Worth area,
right, exactly,
to Oklahoma City, it definitely, especially like Edmond and Oklahoma City are fairly close to each other. Like they're maybe about 15-20 minutes away from each other. But Edmond itself is pretty low key as well. Like there's a lot of, like, it's so dumb, but like there's things like Chick-fil-A and Whataburger that like we didn't even have there. Like it was a lot of McDonald's. Like, oh, and I was telling my husband this the other day, like the only place that I could really shop for groceries was Walmart, because there was no like at the time there was no Target that was close by, or there was no super Target. Like it was all just
Yeah.
the regular Target, and
Yeah.
there weren't any Kroger's or Albertsons or anything like that. Like there's like a Homeland grocery store, but that was always touted as being more expensive. And so like I did all of my shopping pretty much at Walmart, just because that was really the only thing and that was also where kids would go in college to entertain themselves, was to Walmart, because there was really nothing else to do. So yeah, we were pretty cool.
I'm now thinking, like, what would you do in the Walmart? Did they have the icy machine? Did they have
Well, I don't want to be a bad influence, but we would play a game where you would go and split into teams and pick like 10 different things throughout the store and then swap carts. And then it was the other team's job to try and find where all those things went back.
Oh,
And then
that's not
whoever made
bad.
it back to the front of the store was like the winner.
At least you put it in. At least you put it back. That's not bad.
At least we tried to put it
Yeah.
back. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But
Having worked
I'm sure it was
retail,
annoying
that
seeing
would
us run
bother me
around.
to just people move stuff. Like, really,
Yeah,
as a
oh,
game?
for sure.
Hey, you do what you.
So yeah,
Bunch of college kids,
basically
they're going to
cow
come up with something
tipping.
fun to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, this is one thing I wanted to talk with somebody about because, I've stayed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area pretty much. I went to UNT up in Denton and then, just came back to my hometown. I lived with my dad for a year in college and then just kind of moved in. I guess my first apartment was with my wife was in Euless.
Yeah.
And so, like, I've never moved, but I've never felt at a disadvantage for not having seen the world because, like, I've been to the Cancun for our anniversary, or Riviera Maya technically, and I've been to Canada, I guess, a couple times, road trips. But do you ever regret not, or have you ever lived, in another area, in another state, or gone farther than Oklahoma, or did you
Other
have the
than
same trajectory as I
college,
did?
other than college, I've not lived anywhere else. There was a time where I was really in love with Oregon and I really wanted to move to Oregon. But that was at a time in my life where, so I went to school to train to become a choir director. I then was a choir director for 6 years, but I'm no longer a choir director anymore. And that was at a time where I was in, as a choir director, some of the best directing that you can ever be a part of or learn from is actually in the Texas area, pretty much anywhere in Texas, but especially in North Texas. And so I didn't want to put myself at a disadvantage by going somewhere else. I wanted to stay in the thick of it. And so I went ahead and just stayed here. But yeah, I would definitely say there's times I wish I had been more adventurous. I wish I had branched out and lived. I honestly wish that I had looked at different colleges. I was really narrow-minded in the colleges that I looked at, and I wasn't really looking at colleges for music. I was, and so, like, I have kids now who go on to Berkeley in Boston or Belmont or like these really amazing music schools, and I think, man, I wish I'd like known to look at places like that, because what a cool experience for them that I never got, because like I said, I was really narrow-minded at the time. So yeah, I absolutely wish I had lived somewhere else. But I will say also, I now live directly across the street from the house that I grew up in. And my parents still live there, and so like, as much as it would be great to live other places, like it's been so helpful with the kids to have grandparents right across the street, and my husband's parents also live in the area, and so like with kids, that's definitely super helpful. So now I'm especially glad that we still live here.
Yeah,
so,
same.
Yeah,
we were lucky. Sally's mom moved literally down the street from us to be able to like kind of watch the kids more. In fact, she lives like within walking distance of their elementary school, which is also nice.
Nice.
For the days we may not be able to pick them up. And my dad still lives in that house in Hearst across the Northeast Mall. So he's pretty close. Did you ever so okay, I got to address this. So we talked about when you came to the art fair, the maze that's on my wall.
Yes.
And I said, I'm sure your name's in it. And you were like, no, there's no way my name's in it. It's like, what do you mean? What?
I think you were a really fun person, but I don't think you and I were in circles that actually crossed.
That's true. We did.
And so you and I didn't spend a lot of time together in high school, like outside of band or outside of anything else. So yeah. I would highly doubt that I am represented on that wall in any way, shape, or form.
So I did check.
Yes.
Your name is not on the maze proper. However, There was an annex. So at one point, I extended the maze around the corner to another wall, and we painted over that small portion that I knew I had other names in. So I will still, to this day, I will assume your name was in there that we painted over.
So kind of you. I will accept it.
I was so sure you were going to be in there.
Yep. Yeah.
All right. So I got to ask, why not? You're no longer a choir director. So did you?
Yes.
So what was the catalyst for you to make a change?
I won't go into all the hairy details, but I really, when I started teaching choir, I got a job that also had me teaching AP Music Theory, which I didn't know was a thing because we didn't have AP Music Theory in high school. I think we had an IB music course, which is sort of music theory combined with history, which I was not, I don't think I was allowed to take that. I think that was one of those that was specifically an IB course. We did have regular music theory that was taught by Miss Antonone at Bell. And so I did take that course. But I didn't, like I said, I wasn't even aware that there was an AP Music Theory course available or out there in the world. So when I first got that teaching job and they said, oh, by the way, we need you to teach AP Music Theory as well, I was like, yeah, okay, sure, fine. And it was just going to be like a one section on the side while I dealt with choir. Choir was my main thing. Yep. And then I really fell in love with it. I really enjoyed teaching it. At the time I was an assistant choir director. And so that's typically where you're dealing with the more beginner choirs. And so I had this really great balance of dealing with beginner choir students, but then going to the AP Music Theory course and having these really great conversations about deep musical concepts. And so, I just really fell in love with it. I then, after 4 years, changed schools and was teaching choir and AP Music Theory, and then they added a pre-AP Music Theory to my schedule. And I still really loved it. This is when when I started at Collegeville Heritage High School, and at Grapevine High School, they had hired a person kind of in a similar situation of, yeah, you're going to be a band director, but we also need you to teach this AP Music Theory course. And he wasn't as down for that. This is many years ago. He's not there anymore, so we won't mention any names, but he pretty much just didn't teach it because he was really against it. And so they started having me, while also teaching choir and my 2 sections of theory, drive over to Grapevine and try and teach those kids. Yeah. But it was about 6 weeks before the AP exam that they were trying to get me in there to save them. Yeah. And there was just no saving them at that point. But anyway, I took that information to the fine arts director at the time and said, I love teaching theory. You have this program at Grapevine that's struggling. I'm doing well with my program at Collegeville. What if I did this full time? And I did it at both schools. And at the time, he was just like, yeah, that's a really nice idea, but good luck with that, because fine arts positions are hard to come by. Mm-hmm. And then something happened. I don't know what. Something happened within the next couple months, and he came back to me and said, it's happening, and let's do it. And
never hurts to ask.
And so, yeah. So then I was teaching at both high schools. I would spend a day at one high school and then the next day at the other high school. And I had 6 sections then, 4 sections of AP Theory and 2 sections of pre-AP, and I really loved it. I still love it. I'm not teaching at both high schools anymore. I'm now just at one high school, but I have the kids from the other high school get bussed over to me, so I still teach all of those high school students. But man, I love it, and every year I'm always more and more passionate about it and more excited to be doing it. So it's been a ton of fun. I love it.
Well, that's good to hear. Yeah, I took that IB music theory class. I think I had to take 2 years in a row, because I remember Earnhardt teaching one, or maybe I just took that one for fun that year, like sophomore year or something. And then I took it with Farrell as a senior, I think, for the IB credit. And that was fascinating, because I didn't know anything about music theory at all. And in fact, it's still, I kind of want to learn some, because it doesn't make sense. Like my brother-in-law, Aaron, kind of taught me to play guitar, or not inspired, but he encouraged me to learn a little guitar. So I know some chords, but he'll be like, here's C, and the major, you just take this string and it's just 3 frets this way, right? I'm like, yeah, that's major. Okay. And it's like, but then if you just run your hand up, it's just the octaves. Like, I don't know. I'm done.
Yeah.
Most of my high school was spent figure out what I have to do to get the A on this assignment, and don't delve any deeper into, why a concert C for a tuba is different for whatever. I'm just like, I'll just do my own thing. So I'll need to, maybe I can get you to give me some like YouTube videos to watch or something to.
I have a YouTube.
Oh, were you actually teach? All right, I'll check it out.
I mean, I only got through a small portion of the AP program, but that year that we were teaching kids at home and in person, I don't know if you were teaching at the time.
Oh God, yes.
But I hated the idea of my students staring at a computer for an hour and a half, and then also having to stare at a computer for their other classes. And so I thought, well, I'll just make these really tight, edited well videos that they can watch to get the lesson in about 10 or 15 minutes. And then they've got time to either come and work with me one-on-one online, or they've got time to work on their homework. Or I just felt like at the start, maybe that was the way to go. I ended up changing it as I went along. But so about from, I think, August through, or maybe September through November, I made lessons under the moniker Music Theory Lady.
Nice.
on YouTube. Music
Very
Theory
punchy.
Lady, no
very
spaces.
Punchy.
And I even had I composed an opening jingle.
Oh, I did see that. I remember you posting that on Facebook. I did watch that. Yes, that was good.
I have an opening jingle, and then about halfway through, my kids were like, "You need something to close it." So I then composed a closing jingle too. So anyway, it was just fun. And I still have kids sometimes who see me in the hall and be like, "The Music Theory Lady." They're like, "That's me." So I've had a lot of people say you should keep that going and make more and charge people for it, because it could be a good resource that way.
Put up a paywall.
Yeah, really. I don't know if I'll ever get organized enough to do that, but it was pretty fun for that little time.
I can't even get a website for my art. It's still the Etsy page. I'm like, it's so much work to do anything official online. That's
especially making all those YouTube videos with all the cutting and the editing, and if I really want it, because I'm a perfectionist, if I really want it the way that I want it to be, it's going to take me hours to do it. That's why I ended up stopping, because I was spending so much time making those that I was working really late at night. So. Yeah.
But it's I still remember this in one of my education classes. They were like, you either spend the time up front getting ready for an assignment that's quick to grade, right? Like writing a test takes forever, but you can grade it instantly, or you can do the other. Like an essay question is super easy to write, but then you got to spend all the time grading the essay. It's kind of like that. Like you either spend all that time ahead of time making the videos, or then you got to do it. Because as a teacher teaching 6 of the same class, it really did get annoying to give the same not lecture, but not for the full class, but the same lesson, 15-minute lesson 6 times over 2 days of a block schedule. It's like, why don't I just record this once? But then you record. I did it a couple times. Then I would play it for them, and then I would just pause it anyway to add stuff. So I was basically just teaching. I was basically spending double for nothing. Yeah. So anyway. Man, we should talk about that for a second, because that was the worst during COVID, teaching.
Yes.
Because we were both in the same district. Although, so were you still split campuses at that time?
No, luckily I was only at Colleyville, but I had the Grapevine kids coming over. But then I think the Grapevine kids weren't. I can't remember if they weren't being shuttled at the time because of all of it, and so they would still have to we used WebEx, so they'd have to WebEx in. From their school, and so that was a big bummer.
So March of 2019, wait, was it 2020 the
2020.
lockdowns? 2020 was the lockdowns. It shut down at that time. The district, because we both worked for the same district at that time, Grapevine, Colleyville. They said, well, we don't know where kids are at, we don't know how many people have internet, so just send out checklists of things they need to be doing for the week. Okay. So I'd make my little checklist Monday, and then the rest of the week was, a couple online meetings, and that was basically it.
Yeah. And
then the following year, we did, what did they call it? Hybrid classes, right? So at first, at least, maybe it was different for your campus, because I think we may have done it differently. So on our campus at Collegiate, which was a smaller early college high school, we only had about 100 kids per graduating class. And so we were able to, poor Riley, our counselor, he had to I think he wrote 28 schedules throughout those first 6 months of coming back. So you either had live kids. At first you had one section of 50 online kids, right, who didn't want to come back to school. And so I had all of those in one online section that I was teaching on the WebEx, and maybe one kid would turn their camera on, right? It was that was the big fight, was I just want to see you. I just want to see your faces to see if any light bulbs are going off. But of course they were, had the camera off, playing Minecraft or whatever they were doing. Maybe listening. And that was terrible. And then I thought there's got to be a better way. So then we switched, and it was just as bad to have hybrid classes, which was some kids online. I had like the WebEx open on the projector, and some kids live, and you were trying to answer questions of the online kids. Like, this is much worse. I want to go back to the way we were doing it. There's just no good way to do it. And no fault of Grapevine Colleyville at all, because I'm sure it was no easier for anybody else.
It was a horrendous year everywhere, but we were hybrid the whole year for every class. And so I think I still had six sections the whole year of teaching kids online at the same time as teaching kids in person. And so that was the year where I started with those YouTube videos, because I thought that would be easy. But I found that because my students weren't as comfortable, you don't really get to have that same interaction with them. They didn't feel as comfortable asking me questions in that one-on-one time that I had sort of arranged in that whole short video section. And so I found their comprehension was not keeping up to pace.
Yeah.
And so that's when I switched to just doing full lectures. But I would do lectures, with like everybody at the same time. So I had a camera set up in my room. But I would also be teaching on the board to my students in class, and that was tough, but I think it was better at sort of bonding everybody a little bit more, because we were all doing it together at the same time, and it wasn't just sitting there staring at a screen, Right.
That was what's the word? That was so dispiriting or
discouraging.
I may have told this. If I have on one of the previous episodes, I'll cut it, but my favorite thing to do was at the end of the WebEx, and you'll know this because when kids log off the WebEx, there's a beep boop sound, right? It goes beep boop, beep boop, beep boop. And so I'd have 50 kids, on that first semester, and I had a dad joke book, and I was like, all right, kids, stay for the full lesson. At the end of the lesson, I'll read some dad jokes. And so I did that, but the best part was they were so bad because they're dad jokes. So I would read one joke and see how bad it was by how many kids logged off. I was like, why couldn't the neighbors' houses stay together? It was too much of a long distance relationship. And they're like, beep boop, beep boop, beep boop, beep boop, beep boop. It's just great. It's so great. I was like seeing if anybody would hang on till the end. It's like, I'll read 5.
That's so good. That's so good. I was the teacher that, you weren't supposed to require your kids to have their cameras on. But like you said, it's so hard to teach to cameras that are off. And so I would say, like, I will count you present if I see your face. And so luckily I teach really small classes. And so that went over fine. Like, there wasn't a lot of argument about that. And most of the kids that take my class really want to be there. And so most of the kids were totally fine with turning on their cameras, but that was a big thing for me, is like, I got to see your face, because it's hard to teach to a blank screen. So
for a while, it was like talking into a void. It really was. Sometimes you'd have like 3 kids respond, and then
But I will say I worked really hard at trying to make sure that my instruction could be, I don't want to say dynamic, but like, I wanted to make sure that they had as much of a good experience at home as they had in person. And so,
if at all possible,
like, I invested in a camera system, and I personally invested in a microphone system where that they could hear me no matter where I was in relation to the camera. If I was walking around the room, and I would use the microphone with kids, so that the kids at home could hear
them.
And,
that's cool.
And I had it set up with my speaker system so that we could even hear the kids at home if they wanted to respond. And I worked really hard to try and make sure that there was a lot of, I even had, I think I have 2 cameras set up so that we could switch between cameras. So there was a little bit of you don't just stare at the same thing for the whole time. So I really did try hard to make sure the kids at home could have at least some kind of experience, or at least some good experience with it, even though it was a total bummer to have to sit at home all day.
That's good to hear. You're a good teacher, Casey. You're a good teacher. Miss Muckley. Mrs. Muckley. I did some of that too. I did some, but at the time I was already like, what's going on? I don't even know. Because of the pandemic, it was harder for me to keep soldiering on, because seriously, how long is this going to last? I don't know. It was so uncertain. But let's get into happier topics. So one thing I always forget to ask is, I want to hear how you met your husband. I always want to hear fun stories. Let's hear it.
That is a fun story. We met on eHarmony
Oh, nice.
way back in the day when eHarmony was still, I guess, kind of newish. And yeah, we met on eHarmony and we went on our first date, and it was super awkward. I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to do a second one, but I had a really good friend at the time that was like, give every guy at least, like, unless it's too much, just give every guy at least 2 dates to get over those first date jitters. And so we went on a second date, and it was so much better. And yeah, and sort of the rest is history. We dated then for about 2.5 years before we got engaged. And then we got married in 2014. So we've been married for almost 8 years now.
2014. Oh,
And
that means I've been married for almost more than that because we got married in 2010.
yeah, yeah.
Are
So
we
12
coming up
years
on 12 or 13? I'll cut this.
this year would be 12 for you.
Yeah. I'm so bad with like the integer of, if somebody was born in February and I was born the December before, how does that, it's a whole year, but not a whole year. I'm terrible
Yep.
when it comes to that math in my head.
But he's fabulous. His name is Scott. He works in surgery, which is really cool
Oh, wow.
because it's completely different than something that I do. So then, like, the stories I tell him are like
Yeah.
new, interesting stories, and vice versa, instead of
Yeah.
it being like, oh, we're teaching today.
So is he a
So that's
surgeon
really cool.
or is he in the room?
He's
Is
he's
he
a
like,
surgical tech.
okay, yeah.
So that's the person who, and I hope I represent this well. But he does a lot of like the cleaning and the sanitizing of the room and the tools. But then, like, even more so, he's the person who, like, sort of is the right hand man of the surgeon, of making sure like your tools are set out exactly the way they want, making sure they're getting the exact tool they want at the time that they want it. And
Nice.
but it goes so far as like, this is what he's told me. So again, I hope I represent
Here,
this
hold
well.
this suture, hold this vein closed for me while
Yeah. Just so you know, this is exactly what it is. But like, even to the point of sometimes you are put in charge of like holding something
Yeah.
for the whole time, or like holding something open,
Organ,
or like
or,
you
yeah.
might have to just like be in this one position the whole
Yeah.
time, which is so crazy. And like, sometimes the things he tells me that he sees all day, I'm just like, that's so gruesome. But he loves it.
Yeah, that's good because
He
not
loves doing
not
it.
everybody does. My wife had thought about doing a nurse anesthetist. I have to say that slowly.
Yeah.
But she couldn't because she had was it vagal response where you just seeing blood, you lose consciousness basically.
Oh.
She went in to do that first observation, and she woke up in the hallway. Right, they like fanned her off and was like, "What?" She was like, "What happened?" They're like, "You passed out from seeing the blood." It's like, "Oh, okay, that's not good." So yeah, not everybody can do it. Not just because it's scary or whatever, but literally their body will shut down. It's crazy. That's really cool though.
Yeah,
I bet you do get some good
But
dinner time stories.
yeah, it's great. And then he's really great about, like, because he's so familiar with that kind of stuff, and he's so comfortable around that kind of stuff. Like, he's a really great person to have around, with kids and all the gross
Yeah.
things that they do and have.
Yeah.
And but he's also really great, like, for a while before we had kids and we were going on choir trips, like, he was always a really great person to have on hand because he has 50 bajillion like medical tools that he always has with him for whatever reason on trips. And
I'm just
so,
imagining
like,
one of
he's
those
got,
big
like, a blood
canvas
pressure
bags
cuff.
with the red cross
Yeah,
on it,
for
like.
real. Yeah, for real. Like, he has a blood pressure cuff and like an oxygen meter of some kind, and 50 bajillion band-aids. And
Yep.
so he was always the person that we would take as our like medical person
It is
if ever
helpful.
somebody got hurt.
or if if you have a family member get sick and need to go to the hospital, they know which hospitals to go to and which ones not
Yeah.
to. It's like,
Well, and what doctors, like,
Yeah,
they know, like,
yeah.
he knows what surgeons he likes and really trusts, and he knows what surgeons he doesn't. And so, like, that's definitely helpful. And like, he works for a THR, which is a pretty big hospital system. And so it's nice to know, like, there's contacts within that system that he can talk to. And so, yeah.
That's
He's
cool.
a pretty handy guy to have around.
Seems like a nice guy. A couple times I met him.
Yeah, he's really awesome. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say, like, he is an amazing gift giver. Like,
That's a good one. That's a good trait.
I'm a terrible gift giver.
Same.
But he puts so much thought into it, and so much, like, it'll be months in advance, and he's already got it like figured out what he wants to do. And like, for instance, when it came to our engagement, like, it wasn't just let's have a nice dinner and do this thing. Like, he'd planned this full day scavenger hunt for me
Oh, nice.
to do, like, with my best friend. But it was a scavenger hunt of benevolence. And so it was like, go to Half Price Books, which we always went to Half Price Books together,
The
and
best,
find
by the way.
20, yeah, and find 20 of your favorite books and then hide $1 within them so that somebody will
Nice.
open up a book and have $1.
That's
Or
really cool.
like he gave me a huge gift card to Starbucks and was like, go buy Starbucks for everybody in line, and gave me a bunch of lottery tickets and said, okay, go put these on gas pumps so that somebody can have a lucky day. And so
Oh,
like, I paid
that's
all
so
the gas
cool.
pumps, and like, yeah, just like really cute things all day of just taking care of other people. And then of course it ended with finding him in the park and him proposing. But it was just such a nice way to have a full day of benevolence instead of it just being the engagement. So yeah, super, super thoughtful guy.
That's really cool. Now
Yeah.
I feel less than. Here's your T-shirt, Sally.
we have this group of friends in Oklahoma that I went to college with that now he's really good friends with as well. There's about 6 couples, including us, and we have this big summer trip every year. And the number of times the girls have said, like, can you please have him like pull all of our husbands aside?
Yeah.
And like teach a class
Here's
on
what you
gift
do.
giving.
Well, it's hard too
like,
when you get older. It's like, okay, you've got the anniversary, you've got birthday, you've got Christmas, and so for Sally and me, it's Valentine's. So February 14th is Valentine's.
Mm-hmm.
My birthday is 2 weeks later. Our anniversary is 2 weeks after that. Sally's birthday is 2 weeks after that, and so it's like, crap. I gotta like by Christmas. I'm looking for gifts for Christmas. I'm like, I need to stock up because come February, I'm gonna need a bunch of thoughtful stuff.
Yeah, that's tough. But he's like, because we'll do those anniversary gifts, like the traditional ones, the paper and the cotton and the stuff like that. And he's done some really cool stuff with that, like for the leather one. Yes, there's a leather one.
Yep, it's number 3. Three.
It's number 3. That's right. He found somebody who will like tan into leather or print onto leather. I'm not quite sure how it works. Like the first page of sheet music of something, and so he chose the first page of sheet music of like the song that I walked down the aisle to.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is really cool. And so it's
what
just
was
like
it? What was
really
the song?
Neat stuff. Here Comes the Sun.
Oh, that's a great one.
It's a really good one.
That's
but
a really good one.
To give it fairness, it was there's a James Taylor cover of it with Yo-Yo Ma as an accompanist.
I may have heard that.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna check that out for sure.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So we used that one. But yeah, just like really cool, interesting ways of doing it rather than like mine was just like a leather keychain.
Well, I got around that a little bit because I would get Sally an ornament in that material. Yeah. So it was just something small. So that's why I knew 3 was leather, because I remember cutting the 3 out of the leather and just making it. And so I'd always do that just to have it, but it's thoughtful, but not, it wasn't hard to find, Although there was
and that's nice because you have it every year. Right. You can look at all of them every year. That's cool.
The copper one the copper one still is a little bit dangerous because it's like, I didn't get it perfect, so you can kind of cut yourself on the sheet copper on there. Careful with that one, kids. All right. Well, I think it's been about an hour, so we need to get to your little challenge and to what you wrote to me in the yearbook. You ready for this?
Oh gosh. I'm sure it's like hags.
Hags.
Casey,
I do that.
That's all it is.
I do that with all my kids, with all my students signing their yearbook. All right. So you can tell, for those who don't know me from high school, I used to correct people's grammar all of the time. Mm-hmm. And so I bring that up because you're kind of poking fun at me in the yearbook. All right. You said...
because I think I remember, but go ahead.
Yeah, okay. You said, "Hey, honey smoochy pie!" ! Wait for it. Last year in my yearbook, you asked me to marry you. Well, okay. We'll see how it goes, and if it doesn't work, I'll take all your money and have a funner underlined, without you. Anyways, underlined S. Because I used to correct people saying anyways instead of anyway. Uh-huh. Anyways, I'll see you next year, you crazy kid. God bless, Casey Latham. P.S. I love your CDs.
Oh, I was going to bring that up.
Yeah.
I forgot.
I had forgot about that, too.
Your CDs were the best. I still have them.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I don't think I have it. I don't think I have any. So I used to make, was it for Christmas?
Sorry?
I think it was for Christmas I gave them out. Yes. I would just burn a bunch of mixed tape, quote unquote, CDs with my favorite songs. And it would be like the hamster dance techno. And I always ended with Cleveland Rocks, I think, because I loved that song so much in high school. What were some of the other songs on there? I don't even remember.
Oh gosh, I wish I could remember. I think there was a Cake song on there, like Going the Distance.
Yep. That was a
Um,
good one.
I can't remember
What
them all,
else
but
would
I
it have
I remember
been?
loving those CDs, and I really do actually still have them in my CD collection.
That's so
They're
funny. You got to
great.
send me the track list
Yes,
because
I
I can't
will.
remember. How many did I? Maybe three, all 3 years.
I only have two, so
Maybe it
I
was
must
only
not have
two.
gotten
That's when I left
all
you
of
out of the
them.
maze and I didn't give you the CD and I was like, nah, forget Casey.
Probably.
No, I always remember thinking, oh, Casey seems like, it almost seemed like I wasn't good enough to be in your friend group. Not that you made me feel that way. It was like, oh, they're so nice over there. They're so kind, like Jessica Rader and Liz Font, like all like, you always had kind things to say, and it was like, I don't think
Oh,
I'm nice enough to be. I don't know.
that's so nice.
All right, but
Oh,
here's my
okay.
prepared statement. Getting a little sappy for a second.
Okay.
Casey, because of your kind heart and generous spirit, I am sincerely grateful and better for having known you. You are just one of the hundreds of kind, generous, and benevolent people I know in a world where we need every single one that we can get. Please keep being awesome and doing awesome things and teaching kids awesome music. All right?
Oh, thanks. That's really nice of you to say.
And now it's going to get wild because your maiden name is Latham. So I
Correct.
assume you come from a group of people who likes to lathe them
Oh
with the
no.
lathe. So you have you have a 5-question quiz about lathes. Are you
Is
ready?
this like Wait Wait Don't Tell Me? Because this is
It
exactly what it sounds
basically
like,
I
and I
ripped
love
off
it.
Wait Wait Don't Tell Me, and nobody's called me on it yet. I've been waiting for somebody who's an NPR fan to call me
I
on it.
love
And
that
like, yeah,
podcast.
basically. Side note: my favorite one of those was they interviewed Henry Winkler, who played the
Oh yeah.
Fonz,
Mhm.
and every correct answer choice was A. So like it was like A. By the end of it, they're like, "What letter was it again?" Henry Winkler A. That's pretty good.
So good.
All right, number one, and you have 7 seconds to answer these.
Oh gosh.
The
Okay.
lathe is a renewable source of energy, B, a turning machine, C, the process of giving a specific shape, or D, a system that makes a car move.
Ooh, I'm between B and C because I know from Home Improvement that it's something where they made like table chair legs on or something like that. So I would say a turning machine.
Correct. A lathe is the
Okay,
wood turner. And by the way, I really want
but
to get
technically
one.
gives a shape to something, right? So that's why I was confused.
Yep.
Okay.
But it's not the process, it's the machine.
Okay. Okay.
So that's the only YouTube rabbit hole I'll go down sometimes is wood turning videos. They
Uh
just are
huh.
so cool. They shave away into the shape. So I kind of want one. But you mentioned Home Improvement. That was such a great show. I need to go back and binge that if I can find it. Maybe on Hulu.
Yes.
Uh, I don't remember that episode though. What was the shtick with the turning thing? They made the
Oh,
leg and
it was just they always were doing something on their
yeah,
tool time show, and
yeah.
that was just like they were doing a lathe project that day, and
But he wanted more power, so I assume it was like spun and out of control or
oh, I'm sure, and I'm
spun it
sure it
so
shot off
fast
into
that
the
yeah,
audience. It was in one of those early seasons.
yeah. All right, number two. The counterpoint to the headstock is A. This is probably the meanest quiz so far. A, the bed. B, the tailstock. C, the tool rest. Or D, the spindle. I'll read them again.
The headstock. Okay.
The counterpoint to the headstock is A, the bed. B, the tailstock. C, the tool rest. Or D, the spindle.
The spindle. No idea.
Incorrect. It is the tailstock. Come on, the tailstock.
Oh, okay. It felt too obvious.
Yeah, right. 3. This also is not. There's no help on this question. In a woodworking lathe, the shaping tools are placed on the blank rest. The A, the bed rest. B, tool rest. C, industry rest. Or D, spindle rest.
Well, now you just said tool rest in the last one, so I'm gonna guess tool rest.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I just found these on like a Quizzle thing from some, I guess, woodworking class. All right, number
Nice.
4. The saddle and the apron form. So together we call those A, the turret lathe, B, the change box, C, the carriage, or D, the compound rest.
The compound rest. I'm gonna say the carriage.
Correct. Of
Ooh.
course,
Right.
the saddle and the apron. Then you got a carriage. Next comes the baby and the baby carriage.
There you go.
5. Final question. Have you gotten 3 out of 4 so far, right?
So far.
Glassworking lathes slowly rotate a hollow glass vessel over A, 2 additional axes of motion, B, the tool rest, C, a circular shape, or D, a fixed or variable temperature flame.
I would assume if it's glass, you would need a flame.
Correct. It's
I would assume D.
Yep. Good job.
Okay.
Good job. 5 out of 6. That's not. Or sorry, 4 out of 5.
Not too bad.
Not bad.
80%.
Not bad.
I'll take it.
And from here on out, I just have to always toot my horn about. So Katie Paris's married name is Coleman. So I gave her 3 questions about Paris and 3 questions about a Coleman stove. It's so stupid. And I've tooted my own horn. I'm not going to cut this, guys. I'm not cutting this. I think I bragged about it every episode since. It's so stupid, but I love it. All right, Casey. Well, thank you for taking the time out. And I hope you found a long-term sub. Have you found one yet?
I did. I found one that actually just graduated with a music degree, and so I was sorry for that. I was looking for someone who could actually teach the course without me having to make 50 bajillion videos and lesson plans and stuff like that. So I think I found somebody. So
no, in fact, I felt bad because I no longer sub. I subbed the first semester. Now I'm teaching at a private school, so I took a little.
Oh, good, because I felt bad because I was letting you down.
No. But I'd be like, I don't know the chords. What's a C major? Yeah, again, that would have been bad. So you made the right choice, or it happened perfectly. But anyway, all right. Well, thanks for taking your time out. Get back to the little ones, and good luck. Good luck with Luke.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye. All right, that was the show. Thanks for listening, everyone. Today's episode was recorded by Mark Dye. Our editor is Mark Dye, and he is also the executive producer. The intro and outro music was composed by Mark Dye in high school. It's really just me doing this. To support the How the Heck Have You Been podcast, visit artbymarker.com and buy some cool art. Thanks, y'all.